Let's talk about the gas plant in Burrillville.
Yep.
Now, it was just earlier this month that this energy stuff gets pretty complicated, but a forward capacity auction, the results were put out. And it said basically that there's enough gas supply and enough electricity supply in our region. So there's no need for this new plant. Now, activists have suggested building this plant continues our reliance on fossil fuels, and it's fracked gas coming out of Pennsylvania, and that it's actually that it's harmful and contrary to our stated goals in Rhode Island to become fossil fuel free or increase our renewable energy. So, are you still in favor of the building of that plant in Burrillville?
As a general proposition, I'm opposed to fossil fuels. Nobody fights harder than I do in the Senate to try to knock down the fossil fuel industry, break its grip on the Senate, and let us solve the problem of climate change. What happened in this case is that there are two, I think, facilities, and one of them bid into the auction and was selected. And so that's going to be a part of the process going forward. There's another one that they did not bid into the auction, but may bid into later auctions, or they may try to sell power somehow on the side. And that goes into our grid, and it's part of the process through which all that takes place. I did not take a position, and I do not intend to take a position in the siting decision that's made, or in the auction. There really isn't a role for a member of Congress, either in a siting decision, which is a contested administrative matter where we really aren't supposed to try to interfere, or in the capacity auction. So I have stayed out of that. I understand the point that we have these terrific spikes in energy prices, and we have variances in energy prices, particularly natural gas prices, in the Northeast versus other places where they pay way lower prices because of choke points that are in the system. And to the extent that all we're doing is taking out choke points that create artificially high prices for Rhode Islanders, or creating potential spikes in electricity when there's very high demand that go way above regular prices, I'm not going to object to those things. I object more generally and categorically to having our dependence on fossil fuel. And the way I'm best positioned to fight that is to fight every week, every day in the Senate to try to get something done. And I would say we're actually closer than we have ever been to either making sure that the president's Clean Power Plan stays, or getting a carbon fee that adjusts the whole market so that the subsidies for fossil fuels are levelized and they're no longer given that advantage, or both. And that's my task, I believe.
But this is your backyard. I mean, shouldn't you be standing up for fossil fuel-free Rhode Island?
You have to allow administrative procedures to take their course. Everybody has a chance to say their piece. But for a senator or a congressman to try to butt into an ongoing administrative proceeding is something that can create an ethics problem and is usually seen as an improper interference. People in that process are entitled to have that be a fair process that comes to its own decision without a senator leaning on it.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be back after these messages.